So the Oscars are upon us, the Academy Awards themselves. It's on in a few days. We're going to find out what won the prestigious awards, best picture, best whatever. And I'm here to talk a bit about why I think the Oscars are sort of dumb. They're kind of dumb, and I've been meaning to make a video about this topic for many a year, but I just never got around to it. One of the things I wanted to focus on was the kind of bias against horror movies. Huge thing, and I'll get to that a little bit later. First up, I just want to say though that, or question really, why do we care so much about the Oscars? To me, it's because it's the one that everybody talks about. It's the one with the clout, and that's about it. Why is the Oscars any more prestigious than the Golden Globes or the whatever, any other awards show? And maybe to you, the answer is it's not, but to me, it seems to be the only one that anybody pays attention to. It's definitely the only one I pay attention to. Maybe that's just me being a movie nerd or something. I don't know. But I think it's about time that we all stop pretending like we're going to know or care who won what each year, because we don't. We never remember these things. We never care unless there was a controversy. Okay, we know the Moonlight La La Land thing that happened. We know Crash won in 2006. I know that because of a recent Patrick H. Willems video. But basically, apart from that, I don't know. We don't know who won Best Actor in, 2015. And maybe you do. Maybe you watching, you do. But like, most people forget, But the other kind of thing about the Oscars that doesn't intrigue me all that much is that once you really think about what it really is it's just a bunch of rich and famous and much more successful people than I'll ever be sitting in a room basically self-congratulating each other and mostly themselves. It's just a bunch of I don't want to be graphic, but jerking each other off pretty much, right? I buy into it too each year. I don't watch the Oscars really. I've only watched the Oscars maybe twice in its entirety anyway, but I always read the results. I can say that. I definitely always read the results. But the thing about it that has never made that much sense to me is that, how do you quantify what is the best art? It's subjective. Art is subjective. We all know this. And so choosing things like who did the best performance, who made the best costume or whatever, it's kind of like choosing what's your favorite color, what's your favorite music genre. We're all gonna have different answers because we come into things with preconceived biases. You just can't really help that. And so when a movie wins whatever category they win in, it's kind of like, okay, but who says that that's the best cinematography? Who says that that's the best whatever? It doesn't really matter what the actual example is, but it's just I would probably say differently a lot of the time. I disagree with the Oscars every single year. I disagree with the nominees every single year. I think there, of course, are snubs and stuff. That's the thing that everybody always complains about. But there's just always a bunch of things missing. I'm shocked that the Iron Claw didn't get any nominations at all. That is legitimately shocking to me. I can say things like, I wish Evil Dead Rise or some shit got it. I know that was never going to get it. But the Iron Claw is very Oscar baity. It's the type of movie that would get nominated and would win, in my opinion, but apparently not. So maybe I'm out of touch, maybe the Oscars are out of touch, I don't really know, but the point is, I think it's silly, I guess, to award things for being the best when it's an extremely subjective topic. I do understand when it actually does come to things like cinematography and things like that, because there is an actual sort of craft to it. You can sort of quantify how well it was done by being how did it sort of assist in telling the story, there is craft to it, and there is sort of a lens that you can look at it in, being did this help the story? Was it well constructed based on what its sort of intentions were? That does sort of tell you what is good and bad, I suppose, in a way. But overall, when it comes to Hollywood movies and all this shit, and maybe I'm ignorant and stupid, but it feels like most movies, at least again, that are studio produced and stuff, are well shot and well, made generally. Most movies are good. I want to say it. Most people are going to disagree with me when I say that. And when I say that, I don't mean literally in terms of every movie is fantastic and I love it. I just mean in terms of just base level being good enough in terms of visuals and whatnot, writing and stuff. I would say most movies I see anyway are good enough. I don't know, man. Maybe that's bullshit. Maybe I take that all back. I don't really know. But the point is, it's all biased. It's all subjective and shit. And so it's like, I don't know. There are some ways that you can quantify how well something was done, but in other ways, yeah, to me, it's a bit like picking your favorite color or something because, yeah, again, to me, the best performance of the year was Lily Sullivan in Evil Dead Rise. That's a callback to Evil Dead Rise for you. Yes, I actually want to talk a bit about this. Basically, this performance is the Toni Collette performance in Hereditary that got snubbed years ago, in 2018, I believe. Yeah, I fully think that this actor deserves some recognition for what she did in Evil Dead Rise. I think that it's a phenomenal performance, but the thing is, of course, it gets ignored because it is part of genre fiction. It is a horror film, and a pretty extreme one at that. It's pretty gory and stuff. It's very like geeky as well with like its effects and stuff. Like there's this crazy weird monster thing at the end of it and everything. It's not exactly the kind of movie you think of when you think of Oscars, right? But I guess I question why. Why is there only really one particular type? Why is a period piece more likely to win an Oscar than a horror film or something like that? There's definitely a bias there, and I think that it's kind of immature. I think it's kind of stupid. It's kind of like a bunch of these people trying to look like they have the best taste possible, trying to look like, ooh, aren't I clever? I like Poor Things or whatever. I haven't seen that movie, but I'm just saying, like, what makes Talk to Me, for example, what makes that not deserve, to be in the talking? I understand it probably would never win or whatever, but Talk to Me was the horror film of the year. That's the one everybody talked about. That's the one that everybody agrees is fantastic. But of course, it's not talked about in this, and it was never expected to be talked about. And nobody's complaining about it not being talked about except me. And I guess that's because of the Oscars and the clout and the expectation and all that shit that I've already talked about, where it's like, it's a very particular thing, right? Like, we know what kinds of movies win Oscars, and Talk to Me or Evil Dead Rise or whatever just aren't the types to win it. And I don't know. To me, it's silly. I just think when a particular movie does something so well, regardless of genre, regardless of how well it did in terms of box office and all that stuff. But then again, I don't want them to dumb down the Oscars and start giving every Marvel movie awards and shit too. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel like there should be a bit of a halfway point where we can appreciate things that are a little bit more, I don't know what the word is, like, not Oscar friendly, I suppose. If that makes any sense. Anyway, and the thing is, whoever wins these Oscars anyway, it's not going to change their lives because they're already these rich, famous, successful people, unless we're talking categories like the documentaries and short films and stuff, where I actually do think it's really important. But the Oscars and us as an audience really glaze over all that shit. We don't really care about that stuff. Those aren't the big sexy categories that we really care about. We care about Best Picture, we care about Best Actor and all that shit, Like, the other thing that annoys me about the Oscars is that I hate that every single category is full of the exact same fucking 5 movies. It's Poor Things, it's Oppenheimer, it's Barbie, it's whatever. Like, I don't know. I feel like there should be more of a variety to me. I don't know. That's just how I feel. I don't know if other people really agree with that, but it makes it really boring, to be honest. It makes it really predictable, even though I'm usually pretty bad at guessing which movies are going to win. But even so, it makes it just kind of boring. It makes it like, okay, we're talking about the same fucking movies over and over and over again, the entire thing. It's like, there's no surprises. Sure, you don't know who's going to win, but I don't know. It's just like, we're talking about the same shit, and I find that kind of boring, personally. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Again, coming from somebody who doesn't really watch the Oscars, I don't know, like maybe I'll watch some segments or whatever. Part of that is that I didn't grow up watching the Oscars because I'm Australian and it's on at a weird time and it wasn't available for a really long time, and I don't know. I could watch it now, but it's like, I'm not sure. There's just something annoying about it in terms of the timing and stuff. And also in terms of half the time we don't get half of the fucking nominated movies as well until like a few months after everybody else, and it's like, it feels pointless and outdated at that point, and it's always annoyed me. That's something that's always annoyed me. I've always felt behind on the like Oscar movies and stuff. I've always wanted to be, cultured and shit and see everything that was nominated and see everything that everybody's talking about, but of course we don't get a bunch of the movies and stuff. This year though, we actually kind of did. So this is a dumb complaint. See, I should have made this video years ago because it was more of a valid complaint a couple years ago. ago, but I just wanted to mention it anyway. Yeah, so in my opinion, the Oscars are kind of dumb, I guess. And maybe that's all I have to say. That, you know, I've talked for 14 minutes. That's probably enough. I'm gonna go. Before you go, please do that things, which are like, comment, share, subscribe, all that shit. And I'm outie. Goodbye.